What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here from DFS Army, and this is your NFL Week 14 DraftKings Milli Maker lineup review. All right, we're back with our lineup review. I'm back after a week off to take another look at what took down tournaments this week on DraftKings. How did things go in general? What happened with the chalk? What happened with the what happened with the GPP plays? All of that good stuff. So, as always, I'd like to get started by taking a look at the DFS Army chalkboard to get an idea of what players were going to be high owned in these tournaments this week. And as you know, what I always say is we embrace the chalk in cash games and we avoid it like the plague in tournaments. So let's see how that played out this week. Now, again, the quarterback position is rarely super chalky, as you could see here, where our projections had Taysom Hill as the highest owned quarterback this week, followed by Josh Allen, and then Herbert, Brady, some obvious suspects, Cam Newton, Dak, Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. Now, if you take a look at this list here, Taysom Hill wound up making really good value in this game. That last run that he did really broke it open. But before that, he was having just an okay game. And I had been a little bit nervous that he was going to lose out some of his scoring to Alvin Kamara against such a bad team as the Jets. But, that didn't happen. I actually had a bet on Kamara to score 2 touchdowns. He almost got the second one. It was plus 400. I would bet it every fucking time. Did not cash. Don't care. Still stand by the bet. Josh Allen, the second highest owned quarterback on the slate, also wound up being the nuts play, as we will see momentarily. A couple of disappointments here. Cam Newton got benched. He started off really well, got benched. Always a possibility. So, what can you say? Newton sucks. Dak Prescott, too easy of a game for Dallas. Don't even know how they scored. Defense was scoring. They're scoring. Dak's not getting points. I don't know what the hell was going on there. Mahomes also too easy of a game. They scored a ton of points, but it was all running backs for the most part that scored. And Joe Burrow was actually part of some really good lineups. So we'll see that. At wide receiver, Mike Williams, the chalk this week, obvious chalk play. I would say failed. That was a chalk fail. And again, it's a reminder that no matter how good a play looks, you can fade it in tournaments. And if you faded Mike Williams, we're pretty happy. I think Godwin did all right. Hunter Renfrow on the chalkboard is just about the only wide receiver who is going to be high owned, so to speak, that actually smashed. So Renfrow did smash. I believe he might have been part of the nuts lineup. And if he wasn't in the Milli Maker winning, he might just be part of, quote unquote, the actual nuts lineup. He smashed. So a lot of chalk fails this week and a lot of failures, and it was a low scoring week across the board for both cash games and tournaments. So, that was really important to note. It was just a lower scoring week than usual. And part of the reason was, again, more chalk explosions. Antonio Gibson, who was the highest owned running back, really just failed in this game. Stefan, I'm going to say this, dude, don't worry about playing a defense against players on your lineup. But we talk about it all the time. Do not avoid that. That was something we avoided in years past that we've learned is not something you need to avoid. So I would not allow the choice of your defense. By the way, locking in Chiefs defense, you fucking crushed anyway. So congrats on that. But don't allow the defense to dictate your offensive player decisions. It doesn't work. The negative correlation isn't there. Maybe for running backs, but that's about not for wide receivers. Don't worry about that. Now, as far as the running back trio, unfortunately, couldn't afford this trio. Generally, couldn't afford Gibson, Eckler, and Fournette. But if you played Eckler and Fournette, you were probably pretty happy. Kamara was my favorite play. I had him as core this week, and that worked pretty well, I thought. Gibson, though, was a massive, massive fail. And the whole Washington team, they just played like shit. There was no way of knowing that they were going to play like shit. Like Josh Jacobs, I avoided him. I didn't like him very much. Jeff Wilson Jr. avoided, didn't like him. We knew to get off of that. But as far as Gibson, I mean, what more can you ask? He got all the touches. He got all the carries. Just his team played like shit. His quarterback was absolutely horrible. And they had been playing well. And they were at home. All the recipe was for success. But again, it's a reminder that you can always fade some chalk. When we go down to the tight end position, for me, the my core play this week was Austin Hooper. He delivered. he delivered just fine. He got 14, I think 16 points by the end of that game. That's all you can ask for out of a $3,400 player. I think it worked out great. Unfortunately, if you were on Rob Gronkowski this week, or Travis Kelce, or Jared Cook, or O'Shaughnessy, you probably were disappointed. And instead, we had smash games from Kittle and Mark Andrews, and those were nuts plays. So you had to be on one of those guys to get into the winning lineup. And at defense, the Dom Station, interestingly, as I run it, wants to just pile up the Browns constantly. They did pretty well, but the nuts play was the Chiefs and Dallas, as we'll see in a minute. So let's get over to the contest dashboard over at Fantasy Lab so we can take a look at what won the Milli Maker this week. And then we're gonna see if we can. I have a fun idea for today, guys. We're going to see if we can replicate and beat in real time the Milli Maker lineup. Did Knox do? I didn't know what he did. I saw him doing some damage at the end of that game. Players were going crazy, right? So we're going to try to replicate a score that could have taken down one of these tournaments right after this using the back test tool from the Domination Station Optimizer. I do want to call out one other thing. As you could see here on screen, Rashad Penny smashed 29.8 points. And I want to shout out my boy Hunter Sinclair in DFS Army Discord, who posted, let me see if I can put it up on screen here. I'm going to put it up on screen just so you guys can see. This is the beauty of the DFS Army Discord. Wait a minute, that's for tonight. I just want to go back to his quote from yesterday. So Hunter puts out an RB. I like Devonta Freeman, who wound up doing very well. Last couple weeks, they've been dialing lat snaps back, and Freeman's getting close to full load, half a dozen targets or so. I think he's a fine option rather than stingy clean defense. I'm taking a couple of shots on Rashad Penny. This one is super yuck, but the lying, and Pete Carroll is a liar, but the lying Pete Carroll said he's expected to be a quote unquote big part of the game plan today, and they're playing against Houston. Okay, so I really want to shout out Hunter because there he was in the News and Notes channel, in the DFS Army Discord, shouting out what essentially was the single best DFS play of the day yesterday. So if you're not reading the News and Notes channel, if you're not in DFS Army Discord, that's on you. That's your choice to play with one arm tied behind your back. I have a lot of DFS Army, even subscribers who don't check those channels, don't check the notes, aren't in the Discord, and I just find it bizarre. Again, there you are, Stephen McGuire, man. You use DFS Army. This is the news, and I'll go back to it. This is the NFL News and Notes channel. I post my notes in here before each game. There's my note from yesterday. And Hunter posted his notes right here, right after mine. That's, looks like 11:42 a.m. So that's in the DFS Army Discord in the News and Notes channel. Got to make sure you're in the Discord. That's where we talk. That's where we strategize together. There it is, man. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. I'm glad you're here, right? There's a little button over here that says Discord on the DFS Army website, Steve. Click on that. Get into our Discord. You're missing 90% of what we do at DFS Army. The vast majority of what we're doing is happening inside our Discord. So if you're signed up, if you're subbed here, and you're not in there, you're really missing out on the most important part of your membership. That's where I can talk to you. That's where you can ask me a question. That's where we can talk about strategy. That's where we can talk about, hey, what should I do in cash? What should I do in GPPs? I'm in the Discord. I don't understand how you could play NBA DFS without being in the Discord, by the way. Like, how do you possibly do it? How could you possibly do that without getting news in real time up to the second? Like, you can't play NBA DFS at all. Secondary note, by the way, speaking of the Discord, all these other crazy good things, we are about to launch late swaps for the Domination Station Optimizer. Yes, where's the Monday night? Gaby, patience, Gaby. Right after this video, we will go into a Monday night showdown breakdown. So stick around. That'll probably happen maybe 4:30-ish Eastern time, something like that. I want to try to get Bobby Wow and Josh DFS Up North in there, or at least one of them. So right after this video, stick around for the showdown breakdown. I'm talking about other things. Let's get into what we are here for. Let's take a look at what won the Milli Maker this week. And it is a weird one, guys. A fucking weird lineup. It's so weird that, of course, it's another one-off winner of the Milli Maker. This guy, Cube80, put in 2 lineups, just random, clicked a bunch about. Great, right? Yeah. Oh my God, do we do basketball, bro? You got to be in the Discord. I'm not going to say it again because this is beating our basketball, our Discord. You cannot play NBA DFS without being in the Discord and getting the news and notes and the last second swaps. And oh my goodness, right? Wow. Get in there. All right. So check it out. This is the weirdest lineup you're ever going to see. And number one, 82% total ownership. So as you take a look at this lineup, I'm just going to turn so I can see it, right? As you take a look at this lineup, 82% total ownership. Very, very, very away from the chalk. Fade the chalk, right? Except for one player. There's really only one high-owned player. Now, again, we already talked about Josh Allen. Quarterbacks really are never chalk because 9%, whatever. Some interesting choices here. Saquon Barkley at running back. I didn't love Saquon Barkley, not going to lie. The matchup was good on paper, but who the hell thought? Like, I didn't really think Mike Glennon could play competent enough quarterback to have Barkley have a good game. In the end of the day, Barkley wasn't what caused this lineup to win, but he certainly didn't hurt. A big catalyst for the W here for Coob is Rashad Penny, who was only 2% owned. Again, he must have read Hunter's note in our Discord, or maybe he read the note from Pete Carroll that he's going to involve Penny a little bit more. Pete Carroll's a notorious liar. I didn't believe it, but nonetheless, there it is. Rashad Penny, you needed him. 4,800, crazy, kind of overpriced for what his role had been, but yet here he was. He smashes, and it made sense to pair up Rashad Penny with Seattle defense. So Coob did use a little bit of correlation here, but didn't really matter. Another correlative, it was a negative. Obviously, Seattle defense did poorly. Another correlative play here in this lineup is Josh Allen with Cole Beasley. Again, not really accretive to this lineup at all, which is fascinating to me. But yet, there it is. No bring back from Tampa. None of that. Couple more one-off plays. Robbie Anderson, somebody I mentioned on my sheet as a potential one-off play this week. Robbie Anderson went off. A great play there. Mark Andrews at tight end, just another one-off play. It's just a standard one-off play. Another one-off play here of Hunter Renfrow. So this was definitely sort of like a lot of one-offs in this lineup. And I think I don't want to say luck. I don't want to negative ever somebody's win. Guy won $1 million. I haven't won $1 million yet. So all the props in the world to Coob. He or she did a great job here. Is living large right now. And just must be incredibly happy after this sweet win. So congrats to that. I'm going to try to replicate a Milli Maker winning lineup here in a minute using the Domination Station DFS Army back testing tool. I'm going to show you how that works, and we'll see if we can figure it out. We're going to cheat a little bit in the sense of we're going to know the results in advance of setting this up, but I just want to see what it would take, how many clicks, a couple things like that to see if we can get there. So I want to look at a couple other top lineups here this past week, and it looks like second place was actually a Joe Burrow, and this is a more traditional stacked lineup. So I like this one's more fascinating to me because it follows a lot more rules, and that makes me happy. I like rule following. So let's take a look at what Arquest 100 did here, and this is a Joe Burrow double stack. This is pretty standard how we would normally want to stack Joe Burrow. If you look at my notes this week, I specifically mentioned Joe Burrow is the style of quarterback at his price that you always need to stack with two of his pass catchers. He's not going to get there by himself, right? That's Joe Burrow. He doesn't run for touchdowns, and if he's throwing a lot, that usually means that his running back is not having a good game. So you never want to mix him with Mixon. No Mixon Burrow with Mixon. Don't do that, right? But he's a stack with two of. So in this case, Arquest stacked Joe Burrow with his two primary wide receivers. Neither one of the wide receivers, quote unquote, smashed, but they did enough. The comeback from the game was George Kittle. George Kittle smashed at very low ownership. So that was a huge part of this lineup. Now, the only other thing that is correlative here that I can see is a running back defense. And you're seeing this a lot. That's something that people definitely try to do. And it does work on occasion. And it did work pretty well here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire with Kansas City defense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't necessarily add to this lineup. He wasn't the reason that it won. But Kansas City defense did add significantly and pretty much was needed, either them or Dallas, if you're going to have a shot at sniffing the nuts lineup. So when we do our back test tool, we're going to cheat a little bit with the defense as well. But I do want to try some Burrow triple stacks as well as just focusing on Josh Allen. So let's keep that in mind as we do our back test. But we're going to cheat with the defense a little bit and force these elite ones in, or it's going to be really long and hard to hit it, and we don't have all that much time. So again, congrats to RCast 100. Josh Palmer was just a one-off play. Fine, he was one of the people that we looked at as a cheap play. Guyton, Palmer, the Chargers wide receivers were in play, and of course the Hunter special, Rashad Penny. You needed him in your lineup this week if you were going to make all the Monet. Needed him. Now, I'm going to take a look at the only mass multi-entry person or the mass multi-entry person that did best, let's say, which was D Malk. D Malk put in 150 lineups. Usually the 150 lineup people, as we say all the time, usually if you're going to put in 150 lineups, you lose money. I show this again and again and again on this tool. I could show it to you again, but we've done that every single week. You'll see that 90% of people who max enter tournaments always lose money. Always. Now, D Malk's lineup here was sunk. This had a great chance of taking down the million. I mean, Kareem Hunt, dude. Really? This is a replicatable lineup, though. We've got a game stack. We've got some team stacks. We've got a lot of things that are replicable. So I really like this one as a baseline for how we might set up the optimizer to try to win a tournament. And in this case, you've got Josh Allen to Gabriel Davis. Now, Gabriel Davis was 3,500. He put up the same number of points as Cole Beasley did for 1,500 more. Gabriel Davis was coming off of a better game the previous week than Beasley was. He had a little bit, definitely a much lower ownership. So I love that. And you notice here it's 93% total. And Steven, I'm going to say this. This is really important. Now, I'm going to pause what I'm breaking down here to say this. I fully expect you to do better making a couple of lineups. And I don't recommend mass multi-entry for everybody or even for most people. And as you're seeing here, guys are winning the Milli Maker with single lineups. Mass multi-entry should be the smallest component of your budget. Most of your focus should either be on your cash lineup, or if you don't play cash, and I don't have any problem with that. I don't always play cash. A lot of times I don't like playing cash games. If you're not going to do that, you should focus on smaller tournaments that are winnable. 100-man, 150-person, 50-person. You don't need to find all these crazy plays in the smaller tournaments. So I talk about that all the time. It's really, really important. Do not assume that you should be mass multi-entering. That is a money-losing proposition for most people. You have to endure long stretches of losing money until you finally win one of these tournaments. And for most people, their bankroll will not allow it or handle it. So do not feel obligated to mass enter. And you're seeing here, you can single entry, win $1 million. Coob did it. RCast won 100K with just 4 lineups. So the proof is in the pudding right here. Guys are winning with one lineup. You can do it too, right? So again, that being said, I'm just taking a look at this because I like to look at lineup construction techniques above all. So this is a QB plus 1 wide receiver, same team, 1 player opposing team. In this case, it's a running back from the Bucks. In addition, we've got just a bunch of one-offs. I don't really see any other stacks in here. Hunter Renfrow, again, been a good play week after week. Just wound up smashing. Jalen Guyton, a salary saver. George Kittle, a pay-up tight end that was going to be low-owned. Fine, you like George Kittle. He had a great week last week. And Javonte Williams, this is a lot of chasing last week's points, if I'm being honest. If you look at this lineup, this is basically a lot of chasing last week's points, and it really worked out well. Now, D Malk did not hand create this lineup. He made it with a lineup optimizer, and it looks like the only rule he put into place was QB +1, same team, one opposing team, and that worked out just fine. I'm going to look and see if there's any other mass multi-entry people that we feel like we want to take a look at their construction. Anybody who makes 150 lineups and they're not all unique, that's not someone I want to even look at. There's our boy Hofbrau, who is part of DFS Army, amongst other sites. JBC, Statsational, did not have a great game, a great Milli Maker. I can see here. I can already tell you what some of these guys will do. Like JBC, we've looked at this enough times to know that what JBC's lineups are going to look like are really, really spread out exposures. He does not like to get overly exposed to any one player. Yeah, Allen with they'll always be stacked. In this case, he's now using just a +1 stack. So JBC has now adjusted to quote unquote this season and is no longer team stacking or even game stacking, but rather just straight up Allen +1 stacks, which just, that's just so this year, isn't it? Anyway, if we look at his exposures, you'll see if we filter by player, you're going to see that he does not tend to go above 30% on any one player, and just spread the love around is the approach that they use. So, Gerald Everett, huh? Interesting. So let's see. The one I've been enjoying checking out is Whistles Go Woo. Whistles Go Woo is one of the hotter players right now and a optimization master. But there he is. But he also did say that he was planning on doing a going very heavy exposure on just one or two players approach recently in one of his interviews. So I want to just see if he's been doing that. And yeah, there's it. He loaded up on Herbert. A lot of Josh Allen. You would think that this wouldn't be too bad. Let's see what happened. Oh, there it is. Yeah, can't go all in on. He went all in on Antonio Gibson, and it burned you. So sometimes you go over levered a certain way, and it burns you. Yeah, this is going to work out poorly, and it did. He lost almost all his money. All right. Anyway, let's get to the fun stuff, guys. What I said in the beginning of the show is I'm going to use the Domination Station Optimizer backtest tool and see if we can replicate the tournament winning lineup. Now, I've done a couple little things here already, very few, a couple of little adjustments. Like we know that Andrews and George Kittle did really well on this slate. So what I want to do is just make sure that I get exposure to these two guys. Let me see where I'm at. So I want to make sure I get some exposure to them. So I'm going to smash likes on both Andrews and George Kittle. I'm actually going to smash some dislikes on some players that I definitely like. I didn't use any O'Shaughnessy yesterday. I didn't believe he had enough upside to make him useful. I'm going to dislike some of these guys. So I want to make sure I get George Kittle and Mark Andrews and lots of them. Another thing we're going to do is smash some likes on some players that did really well. Guyton and Palmer were two. And I also want to find Gabriel Davis because I think he is absolutely a key to the slate. We did not have him projected very well. So I want to make sure that he shows up in some of my Josh Allen stacks because he was the ultimate. How did Knox do? Let's take a look. Yeah, he did fine as well. So we'll leave him out there to be part of our stacks. And the other thing that we said we want to do is make sure that we get those, again, got to cheat it a little bit, but we're going to make sure that we get exposure to Chiefs defense, Titans defense. I love Titans. I mean, that was an easy one. And Cowboys defense. So let's see if we can try to make sure we get some of that. I don't know if we will. I'm gonna try to force it a little bit. We're gonna get all Browns defense. Browns was our top projected defense, and they did fine as well. They did fine with 14 points. So if you just let the Dom Station do its thing this week, you would have gotten all Browns defense. I don't do FanDuel. Number one, because there's no dashboard ownership for FanDuel. You can't really see the contest the same way after they're over. FanDuel just works a little bit different like that. So I just don't do it because it's just more comfortable to look at DraftKings. But I do FanDuel breakdowns. I do a first look for FanDuel. We do notes for FanDuel. We do everything. I just don't do the review for FanDuel, guys. All right. So again, goal here is to try to replicate a tournament winning lineup. Now, I'm sorry, but I'm going to actually change this. So let's set our rule. QB, wide receiver, tight end, same team. Wide receiver, tight end, running back, opposing team. So we'll get our first run going by trying to set this up using one wide receiver, same team, one opposing team. And here's a very important trick that we're going to do that I tell you guys to do each week when you use the domination station. Make sure to allow a few players versus your defense because you don't, because we've discovered that it is not a must avoid you don't have to avoid players, especially wide receivers, against opposing defenses or even quarterbacks. So even on the showdowns, we've seen that captain against their opposing defense wins something like 17% of the time. So you don't need to avoid players versus defense. So I'm going to allow it here. I'm going to show you some of the things I've set up on the optimizer. I've just got it set for 3 uniques. I usually actually use more than 3. So actually, let's go to 4 uniques. The more uniques we have, the slower it sometimes will run. So just be aware of that. I'm setting it for 150 lineups. And I set the ownership cap to 110%. Actually, I really want to set it to 100, but let's set it for 110%. I might go a little bit lower if this doesn't work. And again, we're using a little bit of benefit of hindsight, but knowing that the tournament winning lineup this week had something like 82% ownership, but also that a lot of the better lineups this week were that way. The other thing I'm going to do is set a max cap across all my different position groups, 20%. And the final trick we're going to have to do, and this is a bit of a cheat again, is we're going to have to force Rashad Penny into some lineups. That's the only way we're going to hit this. So I'm just going to give him, I can't even smash a like. I'm going to give him a projection boost up to 15. And let's give it a run and see if that was enough. Okay, now obviously there's a little, we wouldn't have been able to easily replicate this during the slate. We didn't know. But what you might have done during the slate was you might have said, oh, Hunter said to play some Rashad Penny. Let me slap a 10% min on him, right? Like the notes came out and you wanted to get some exposure to Penny. You want to get some leverage to Penny. You might do something like that. So what I'm doing right now is giving it a run just based on 150 lineups. I have Josh Allen locked in at quarterback for this run. So let's see what happens. It's going to give me all Josh Allen stacks. And we're going to need probably a Gabriel Davis Allen stack for this to work. And it's probably going to need, yeah, there it is. All right. So again, with a little bit of cheating and a little bit of magic, we did a run and we got a 226 point total, which was more than enough to absolutely smash the Milli Maker, which hit 219 this week. Let's take a look what the lineup actually looks like, right? So we've got a Josh Allen, Gabriel Davis, Godwin, Fournette triple stack. So it's Allen, Davis, and then Godwin and Fournette in this lineup. There's no secondary stack here. It just one-offed, and actually it uses Josh Jacobs, who wasn't very good. But the nice thing was it avoided Antonio Gibson, who failed. It used one cheapie and Josh Palmer, not both, but Palmer was fine and actually was a guy who had decent ownership at 7%. George Kittle's in the lineup. I mean, lineup number 1, Milli Maker lineup winner. Lineup number 2, Milli Maker winner. 222, 221. That's lineup number 3, also a Milli Maker winner. And again, a little bit of cheating here because we elevated Rashad Penny to 76%. That was never going to happen. Let's see what happens if we have Penny a little lower. I'm going to lower that projection and see if running this again would have the same effect. So let's see how much Penny we needed. Because you could have easily went into this week and just said, I'm going all in on Josh Allen. He's my guy. I could see doing that. I talked about it. Like I said, Allen was my favorite quarterback. We liked, pay downs with Taysom Hill a little bit. We liked pay downs with Cam Newton a little bit. But Josh Allen was always going to be the best play. So you could have gone through this slate and just done that. And again, I've made a few adjustments to the Dom station, but primarily it's on the defenses, making sure we get those 3, because you're not winning. It's not a fair measure when you don't kind of know who even that. Actually, there you go. Even with the adjustment to the defenses, it's not like we're getting all Cowboys and all Chiefs here. I'm only getting this reasonably okay percentage at 11. We're still getting a lot of Saints. So that's very interesting to me. All right. So, wow. Here we go. Randomly, I just lowered the projection for Rashad Penny. Let's see. I'm only getting 31% Penny, but our top lineup in this run scored 233 fantasy points. We crushed the million, people. We crushed the million. 232, 219. So we had 2 lineups here that absolutely destroyed the Milli Maker. Crazy. And this one has Gronk in it. The fuck? Right? How do you like that? George Kittle. What are we getting a lot of that's making this work? You know what? These exposures aren't even that off at all. Gabriel Davis we're getting a lot of. Okay. I would never in real life play this much Gabriel Davis. I get it. But overall, wow. All right, let's adjust Gabriel Davis down a little bit to 8 fantasy points from 9, and let's give it another run. I'm just seeing. I'm fascinated. I have not done this. This is live. This is happening in real time, and you've seen couple little adjustments. Obviously, benefit of hindsight helps, but it's not like we went 100% Chiefs defense, 100% Dallas. We're only getting 10, 12%. So you're seeing the power of just minor adjustments to the tool. The stack we're running is a QB with no less than 1 wide receiver, tight end, same team. QB with no less than 1 wide receiver, tight end, RB, opposing team. We gave an artificial inflation specifically to Rashad Penny. We gave small bumps to Guyton, Palmer, and Gabriel Davis, who were all playable this week anyway, and all guys that we talked about. Pretty wild. I gotta tell you, I'm personally a little surprised. Here we go. So I just lowered the Gabriel Davis down away from the cheat zone down to a more reasonable 8 points and 22% exposure, which is fine considering we have 100% Josh Allen in this run. And again, I only use Josh Allen in these runs because he smashed. And I think it's very fascinating that even with Davis only 22%, we have once again achieved better than the Nuts lineup, 223. So we would have won the Milli Maker over and over and over again. Pretty much the only thing you needed to do this week to win the Milli Maker, according to what I'm seeing here, is just be on Rashad Penny and be on Josh Allen. So, wow. If you haven't used the DFS Army backtest tool, it is one of the best features of your subscription if you're subscribed here. And it's unlike, no one has this. It's unique to DFS Army. One of the things that are important to us, guys, is that, and gals, is that you learn the art of DFS. And one of the things, my personal philosophies in life, and I'm glad that we're all hanging out. So I'm going to tell you one of my philosophies across everything is put in more work than the next. If you're average, you will never be special. So I always think about that. I think about it all the time. I think about average versus special. Most people are average. So most people, when you go onto DFS and it's when you study something and it's like, hey, only 5% of people are good at this. Now, I'll give you a great example. When I was in day trading, when I got in day trading, when I first got out of college, I get a job. I hated my job at one of the big banks, wear a suit, tie every day, a big bank, buttoned up. I didn't like it. I was at Morgan Stanley at the time. I said, I don't like this shit, right? I didn't like it. I didn't like the people I was around who were around me. I didn't like the culture. I was 5 minutes late. I was called in the manager's office. No, fuck that. I'm an independent person. So I left that job and I got into day trading. Proprietary trading, not day trading my own money. Proprietary. You go in a company, they give you this money and you trade it, blah, blah, blah. You split with the company. This job I was in. This was back in 1999. And what I learned when I went and took that job was 90% of the people who take that job fail, and they fail within a few months. and they're gone. Only 10% are able to do it profitably. So I started to think to myself, what makes that 10% better than the other 90%? And I studied it, and I learned that discipline in that field, being disciplined. I watched the people fail and they were undisciplined. So I said, wow, I got to be above, like the way that those guys are undisciplined, I've got to be above that. I've got to be above average at that. Poker is the same way. Everything. So DFS is the same way. Business is the same way. Most people fail. The way to be successful is to take the amount of effort and work that a normal person would put into something and make sure that you're doing a lot more than that. You have to be above average in anything in life if you're going to be successful. Take that with you to anything that you do in life, people. I don't care what you do. Always think to yourself, will an average person do this much? And if they do, I need to be above average, because the average person in DFS is not winning. They're losing money. So how are you going to be a winner? You've got to do above and beyond what an average person will do. Now that that's said, I don't know how the fuck got into this, but now that that's said, the backtest tool that we have for the optimizer is exactly what a differentiator to me between average and above average. If you're not using this to hone your game, if you don't go back after every slate that you do and you backtest and you go, hey, what did I do wrong? Let me try some different settings. What could I have done to win? You will never be better at this. Or I would say, don't mass multi-enter. Don't use this tool if you refuse after a slate, I don't care, NBA, MLB, whatever it is, to go back and say, hey, let me test the settings. What if I put max ownership cap a little bit lower? What if I left it higher? What if I did 5 uniques instead of 4? What if I did allowing 2 players versus defense, which again was something I learned, back testing. What if I, instead of 4, I've been using 3 uniques? What if I went to 5 uniques? Where should I set my randomization? I've got it at 2%. I got it at 10. You got to run this 100 times in backtest mode, 50 times every single week, because you'll reinforce the approaches that win. You're going to try, let me try QB with 1 and 1. All right, that worked out. What if I do a QB with 2 from the same team and 1 from the opposing? What if I do that? What if I set my max limits at 20% and 30%? What if I don't do it across the board? What if I do it? What if I allow one player to be 100% owned, but everybody else no more than 20% owned? You need to see it for yourself. So you just saw it here. Couple clicks. We replicated the Milli Maker winning lineup. It worked out. We crushed the Milli. Didn't win a million myself, but in hindsight, apparently it's a lot easier. You can see the tool can certainly generate tournament winning lineups, Milli Maker winning lineups. So my takeaway, I don't even know what my takeaway is, other than that was pretty cool. We replicated the Milli Maker winning lineup in backtest mode. What I'll do later, and what I won't do on the live stream, is I'm going to go and try to do this again, but rather using techniques I might actually use during a slate. Like I won't go 100% Josh Allen. And I actually think that if you take a look at, I think I might be able to still replicate this if I only force, let's say, 70% Allen, because the other pretty good quarterback was, where the hell is he? Joe Burrow. So I wouldn't mind taking a couple shots on Joe Burrow. And you couldn't play Taysom Hill as a standalone. I think you could have gotten it if Taysom Hill was allowed to be with Kamara, but not with a pass catcher. So I'm not going to force that. I normally wouldn't stack Taysom Hill anyway, and I wouldn't have stacked him with Kamara. I didn't think that was a correct approach to the slate. So I don't know. Let's give it another run with some Burrow in there. But overall, who did Burrow play against? I'm trying to think of any players from, the 49ers. Yeah. The Burrow stack could work if George Kittle's in them. So let's see if we can get a Burrow stack that maybe even outscores the Josh Allen stack as we give it one more run here. I'm curious to see if that will work out. But keeping in mind, guys, you must be back testing every week. And it's very cool to see on screen that when you do back test, and if you make a couple adjustments, you could have easily, or not easily, but you certainly had it within the realm of outcomes to take down a Milli Maker this week. Again, if you're looking on screen here, this is the DFS Army Domination Station Optimizer. And, it's the most user controllable optimizer in existence. It's built different than other optimizers. It gives you, the user, a ton of control over pretty much every single aspect of what you're doing, from adjusting projections to forcing min, to limiting max exposures, forcing min exposures on players, what kind of stacks, lots of different type of stacks. We even have a stacking system called correlation stacking, where you can control for exposures within the stack itself. So I can set up a Josh Allen stack where I make sure it's not more than 30% Diggs or 30% Beasley or 20%, Manuel Sanders, or have some Davis, all of that. Knox, you can control the actual player combinations themselves. So a lot of really, really cool things that you can do with this optimizer. And it starts with, probably starts with back testing, playing a mini max, then back test it, see what you did right, see what you could have changed. When you go to back test mode, your settings will still be there. So let me give it let's see what happens with this run here. We're getting to the end of the run. So I just want to get one last look when we added Joe Burrow into the mix to see if any Joe Burrow lineups, see, there we go. Got worse. Needed 100% Allen. Our top lineup in this run was 213, so a little bit below the Milli Maker winner line. And more interestingly for me, I wanted to see where the Joe Burrow lineups would wind up, and not that great. 188, 191. Let's see. The best Joe Burrow lineup was a 204. Gave me Joe Burrow, Chase, George Kittle. Renfro's in that lineup. Jalen Guyton's in there. Oh, Gibson is in there. That's ruining it. So there you go. I usually use 10% randomization on almost everything I ever do. Interestingly, randomization also makes the tool run a lot faster. So always use it. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Remember to come back to the channel later today. It's 4:00, probably within the next 30 minutes or so, for the showdown breakdown. We're looking at the Rams against the Cardinals tonight. It's going to be an awesome game. Sony Michel night. What? Load them up, all in. So I don't even know where Sony Michel's priced, but kind of thinking all in. Always load up on Sony Michel. Plus, I have a wrap from Sony Michel that I enjoy playing whenever he scores. So lots of reasons. All right, that'll do it for the Week 14 weekend review. Remember, if you're not already signed up at DFS Army as a VIP, you want to use these tools, all of that, you can always use my promo code GEEK to get signed up. Check it out. If you guys are in DFS Army and you don't know about the Discord channel, oh my goodness, get in the Discord. Click over here. There's a free Discord for people too, but you ain't gonna see that much. But when you're a subscriber, you get all of the info, all the notes, everything, strategy. You got to be in the Discord. Steven, unfortunately, I don't do a show on basketball. I'm not able to follow two sports that occur at the same time. I'm keeping it real. I just am not able to follow basketball close enough because NFL is all consuming for me. We do have DFS Army, of course, staff that follow basketball, and we are trying to maybe get a daily video together for it, or an occasional video for it together. But a lot of our stuff is taking place again inside our Discord via our cheat sheets and notes for NBA. So we don't do a show for it as of today, but that could change at any time. And again, I'm not able to do it. I don't follow NBA closely. I'm just not able to do both NBA and NFL properly. As much as I'd like to, I'm just not able to do it both. I have to give all of my time to NFL, or it does a disservice to our team and everybody. So we're, and NFL is my first love. I like an NBA DFS a lot more than I like watching it. Let me put it that way. All right. That'll do it for this NFL Week 14 weekend review. Couple of notes. Showdown breakdown coming up a little later today for tonight's game. We've also got a change this week. Saturday football is back. We're going to have 2 game slates on Saturdays pretty much now through the end of the season. So I'm looking at how I'm going to adjust my content, both my free and my premium VIP only content, to reflect the fact that we've got a slate on Saturday. Probably going to not do as many. I'm going to try to make sure we do a full 2-game slate breakdown show for the Saturday slate. I'm going to make sure we do a full Players Club for the Sunday slate. We'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out this week how we're going to adjust our content. My main thing is I don't want to do content overlapping with games on Saturday. So, yeah, I got to figure that part out. Haven't even thought it through yet. It's Monday, but we will get it. We cover everything over here at DFS Army. I will personally be covering every single game, every single slate, all of that. Just, we'll figure out how we're going to time those things as the week moves on. I will see you guys in a little bit for the showdown breakdown. Good luck this week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, sign up for DFS Army, promo code GEEK. Get in there and start using these tools. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.